Hello and welcome back to the channel. Today we'll cover the series Steven Universe from beginning to end in detail. So sit back, relax, and enjoy.
We are the Crystal Gems.
The show revolves around a boy named Steven Universe, who lives on a beach house with his gem companions called the Crystal Gems, which consists of pearls, garnet, and amethyst. One day, the pink gem on Steven's belly starts glowing, and the Crystal Gems train him with all sorts of methods to summon his gem powers. Eventually, through trial and error, Steven manages to summon his mother's pink shield, but ends up causing havoc in the place. Despite his initial failure, the gems assure Steven that he will discover his abilities in his unique way. But before we proceed further into the show, there is a lot, and I mean a lot of backstory that goes thousands of years back. So let's catch up on Steven later. It all started way back in time when a gem called the White Diamond took a physical form and developed consciousness. Soon after, yellow, blue, and pink diamonds all went through the same process, and with the passage of time, more and more gems started showing up. They all resided on a planet called Homeworld, where White had the supreme authority. Yellow used to handle the armed forces, and blue would handle the cultural aspect of their identity. And as for the little pink sister, she just partied around and had the time of her life without any major involvement. To run their homeworld society, White Diamond had come up with a caste system where pearls would serve as servants to the diamonds, and the rubies would act as military and guards. All the other gems were of a lesser value compared to these three. Gems also had the ability to fuse together with each other, but two gems of different kinds were not allowed to fuse because of the caste system that White Diamond implemented. And to expand their kingdom, White issued an order to colonize different planets of the universe and extract gems from them.
Are the Crystal Gems.
Now Pink was all grown up and wanted to be a part of the colonization process, which didn't sit right with her diamond sisters. Eventually, she was allowed to colonize a planet and chose the good old Earth. Mines called kindergartens were established where gems would be extracted to serve their intended purpose, and things were sailing smoothly for a while. However, among the extracted gems was Rose Quartz, who emerged as an exception, developing a strong connection to Earth's life and beauty. She saw that life on Earth is getting destroyed by colonization and decided to rebel against the issue. Her initial actions raised concerns for Pink Diamond, so she invited her to discuss the issue. Rose begged Pink to stop the colonization, but Pink refused and sent her back to the kindergarten.
Are the Crystal Gems.
Now on Earth, Rose decided to take matters into her own hands and started a rebellion which led to the creation of a team called the Crystal Gems, who shared her ideology of preserving life on Earth. Soon after, Pink could not ignore the threat looming on her colony, so she asked for aid from her sisters Blue and Yellow Diamond. On the other hand, Rose Quartz was growing in number 2. Her first major companion was Pearl, who originally served Pink Diamond in running her colony, but later sided with her to aid the rebellion. The next major member was Garnet, who has quite a backstory. Back when the resistance was growing strong, Blue Diamond sent a team of diplomatic gems from Homeworld to investigate. Among those gems was Sapphire, a rare gem capable of seeing the future. She was assigned 3 ruby bodyguards for protection who were quirky to say the least. Sapphire was called to the Earth by Blue Diamond to share her vision of the future, and she revealed that the Crystal Gems will be captured and the rebellion will end here. Soon after, Rose and Pearl attacked the court as predicted, and 3 rubies were easily defeated. However, when Pearl went to attack Sapphire, one of the guards leaped to save her and ended up fusing with her by accident. This fusion of Ruby and Sapphire is called Garnet. Now, as you already know, the fusion between 2 gems was banned, so seeing this transformation raised a few eyebrows in the court. Pearl and Rose dipped, and Blue Diamond ordered the destruction of Ruby for fusing with a member of the court. However, Sapphire took her hand and fled the court onto the Earth. There, the two got along quickly and started having the time of their lives. Soon after, they fell in love and fused by will, hence becoming Garnet once again. While strolling, Garnet was found by Pearl and Rose once again, who accepted them into their ranks, and Garnet became one of the most important members of the Crystal Gems. As the tides of war were bending in Homeworld's favor, an integral gem called Bismuth joined their ranks. Bismuth was an expert weaponsmith who created the forge and supplied the Crystal Gems with weapons to even out the battlefield. She even created Rose's infamous pink sword that had the power to destroy any gem's physical form in a single slash. Amidst the ongoing conflict between the Crystal Gems and Homeworld, a gem named Lapis Lazuli found herself caught in the midst of the battle on Earth. Her attempts to flee the chaos ended in her being poofed by Bismuth, which in the show's lore means her physical form was dispersed. Homeworld's troops discovered her gemstone but misunderstood her identity, thinking she was a crystal gem, and imprisoned her within a mystical mirror. Soon after, Bismuth created a weapon called the Breaking Point, which was capable of shattering gems, which basically means killing them. Now, Rose was all about preserving life, so the idea of shattering didn't sit right with her. She poofed Bismuth and trapped her gem in a bubble that she kept in her personal dimension. As for the other gems, they were just told that Bismuth had been captured by the Homeworld.
Are the crystal gems?
The battle between the two forces continued with heavy casualties on both sides, and Rose started wondering if she will have anyone left to protect by the end of the war. This is why she took a drastic measure, which was about to end the war once and for all. She confronted Pink head-on and used her pink sword to shatter Pink Diamond. With their leader dead, the Homeworld forces fled the planet, but the Diamond Sisters were furious. In response, they initiated experiments involving gem shards, combining them to forge an artificial fusion gem geoweapon. In their pursuit, numerous malformed gems emerged, serving as prototypes for what later became the Cluster. This monstrous creation involved the fusion of millions of gem shards and was intended to exist within Earth's core. If the cluster were to successfully manifest its physical form, it would dwarf the planet in size. However, its emergence would also spell Earth's destruction, as it was designed to annihilate the planet upon reaching its full potential. In a last-ditch attempt to wipe out the rebellion, the Diamonds launched a direct attack on the Earth. Rose used her shield to protect Garnet and Pear, but the rest of her allies were wiped out, well, except for Bismuth, who was still trapped in that bubble. And there's also Lapis Lazuli, who was imprisoned in the mirror. Surprisingly, the attack that wiped out the crystal gems didn't exactly kill them. Instead, it corrupted them. The gems affected by the attack became mindless monsters roaming around Earth and became a danger to everyone in their paths. But since the Diamonds had no idea this would happen, they thought the war was completely over and decided to never look back on planet Earth. So finally, after centuries of war, the Earth was free from colonization. But there's another gem from Homeworld that got left behind, and I'm not talking about Lapis. I'm talking about Amethyst. She popped out about 500 years after all those Homeworld gems had hightailed it out of Earth. Before she was found by Rose Quartz and the gang, Amethyst was basically playing with rocks in a prime kindergarten. Once they discovered her though, she became a key player in the remaining crystal gems. Now, thousands of years passed and the crystal gems built the Crystal Temple in Beach City, where they would spend the rest of their days and protect Earth in case the Homeworld ever returned.
Are the crystal gems?
Back in the late 20th century, Rose used to swing by the concerts of this dude named Greg, who pretty much had zero crowd except from her. Then one day, Greg got curious and followed her, ending up in the Crystal Temple. Next thing you know, Rose and Greg fell in love and decided to have a kid. But here's the kicker. When Steven popped into existence, Rose had to give up her physical form and became a gem we saw on Steven's belly. Even though the crystal gems lost their leader, they took Steven in and raised him like their own. Fast forward to today, Steven's a 13-year-old living with Pearl, Garnet, and Amethyst in this groovy beach house they've set up inside the Crystal Temple. Now that we understand everything that has led up to this point, we can finally get back to Steven, who has learned that he possesses the same abilities as his mother, Rose. At Beach City, Steven and Amethyst spot a massive orb hurtling toward Earth known as a red eye. Crystal gems suspect that it is sent by the Homeworld as surveillance, so they must destroy it. To destroy the red eye, they need Rose Quartz laser light cannon, which they don't know the location of. Steven suggests involving his father, Greg, who might have it in his old storage unit. They retrieve the cannon and, after an introspective journey, activate it using a special quote. The cannon unleashes a beam that obliterates the red eye just in time, saving the day. Soon after, the crystal gems start training sword fighting to Steven so he can defend himself in case of another invasion. They even take him on dangerous missions and he becomes an active member of the team. Amidst all of his adventures, he meets a girl named Connie and starts developing a crush on her. In a later episode, he saves Connie from a falling cliff with his protective bubble and they get to know each other a little more. The bubble gets stuck and Steven's attempts to free them involve enlisting help from Sadie, Lars, Onion, and even a roller coaster at Funland, and all to no avail. When the two get trapped underwater by a giant worm, Connie vents her frustration, prompting Steven to reveal a glow bracelet he kept for her since they briefly met a year ago. They reconcile and Steven uses the bracelet to lead the worm away. One day, the gems explore a desert landscape filled with mysterious sandstone structures that rise and fall randomly. They encounter a pink lion with glowing eyes, and after a brief interaction, Steven realizes the lion is friendly. Back at the Crystal Temple, Steven shows the lion to others, and after it saves them from a sandstorm, the gems acknowledge the lion's protective intent, and Steven gains their indirect permission to keep the lion. Soon after, Steven uses the lion as means of transportation to take Connie to the movies. Phew, real smooth. While on a picnic with Connie, Steven and her almost share a kiss, which is interrupted by a headache. Suddenly, Connie reveals she is able to see without her glasses, revealing that Steven's saliva has healing powers. We also learn in the same episode that his tears possess the same properties, which were most likely passed down to him by his mother. Pearl finds a mirror that is supposed to show Gem's historical events, but it appears to be broken, so Pearl lets Steven keep it. The mirror guides him to remove its gem, revealing a gem named Lapis Lazuli, who confronts the crystal gems, accusing them of her imprisonment. Lapis battles the gems and warns Steven not to trust them, ultimately escaping into the ocean, leaving the crystal gems perplexed and leading to Steven's grounding by Garnet.
Steven, you're ground.
In the aftermath, Steven and the crystal gems are dealing with the consequences of Lapis Lazuli's actions. Greg rushes to inform them about the disappearing ocean, which causes distress among the townspeople. The gems decide to embark on a mission to confront Lapis and resolve the situation. Garnet approves of Steven's determination to help and lifts his grounding. Joined by Greg, Connie, and Lion, they set off on a journey to the ocean floor, encountering a desolate landscape. They finally locate Lapis and engage in a battle against the water clones she creates. However, Steven manages to communicate with Lapis and eventually heals her gem, allowing her to restore the ocean. Lapis departs Earth while the team returns to the beach city, receiving a warm welcome from the townspeople. One day, Steven uses his powers to give life to watermelon creatures that look like him. He contacts the crystal gems, and Pearl explains that his mother had the same ability to create sentient plant life that protected her. Chaos ensues as the watermelon Stevens start causing havoc around town. Steven's plea for peace is answered by Baby Melon, the first watermelon Steven, who sacrifices himself to end the fight. The watermelon Stevens leave, and the episode concludes with Steven taking a bite out of the remains of Baby Melon, leaving the gems bewildered. One day, Steven discovers a portal inside Lion's mane that leads to a pink space, where he finds various objects associated with his mother. Turns out, this is the pocket dimension Rose used to store her belongings, including Bismuth's bubble. He retrieves a videotape labeled for Steven. Later, Steven watches the video with Sadie and learns that it's a message from his mother, Rose. The video includes scenes of Earth and moments with Greg, and Rose explains that once Steven is born, she will become part of him, loving him through his experiences. While returning from a mission, Steven sees another warp stream with a fast object warping through it. The gems check various warp locations to ease Steven's paranoia, but they find nothing unusual. Steven's frustration grows, leading to an argument with Pearl. Later, as Steven keeps watch, a robot falls through the roof and goes straight for the pad, which gets damaged in the struggle. Steven is pushed out, and Garnet appears to rescue him, revealing that Steven was right all along. They witness a Homeworld gem, Peridot, activating and repairing the warp pad. Peridot notices the damage, places an EMP device, and leaves. Garnet smashes the Homeworld warp and declares that she is not coming back. Sometime later, a giant green hand-shaped object appears in the sky, and the crystal gems prepare for a battle against Peridot. Steven is told to evacuate Beach City with the rest of the citizens while the gems face the threat. As they leave, Greg reveals a painful truth to Steven: that the gems were part of the invaders who attacked Earth before, but Rose Quartz rebelled against her own kind. Steven is determined to return, and with the help of Lion, he arrives at the beach just as the ship lands. The ship brings 3 gems. Jasper recognizes Steven's gem power and subdues him, leading to a confrontation between the gems and the invaders. In an intense battle, Jasper poofs Garnet and captures Steven, leaving the episode on a suspenseful cliffhanger. Following the crystal gems' defeat by Jasper, Steven wakes up imprisoned on a ship and teams up with Ruby to search for their allies, eventually reuniting with Sapphire and witnessing their fusion into Garnet. With Garnet's guidance, Steven rescues the other gems and takes control of the ship, leading to a battle with Jasper, which results in the ship crashing back to Earth. As the crystal gems recover, Peridot escapes while Jasper and Lapis reappear, fusing into Malachite. But Lapis ultimately betrays Jasper and submerges their fusion into the ocean.
are the crystal gems?
The crystal gems investigate the kindergarten, suspecting that Peridot might be trying to reactivate it. They split up to search for her, and Steven stumbles upon Peridot recording a log about her experiments. She is startled by Steven's presence and tries to escape, but the crystal gems chase her. Eventually, she manages to escape their clutches as they come across the cluster experiments. One night, Peridot kidnaps Steven and takes him to the galaxy warp, demanding his help in fixing the Homeworld warp so she can escape Earth. After a failed attempt, a fight ensues and the crystal gems poof Peridot. Steven, curious about her intentions, releases Peridot's bubble to talk to her. Peridot reveals that a dangerous entity called the Cluster will emerge and cause destruction. Steven tries to get more information from her, but she escapes to the bathroom in the temple. The gems struggle to get Peridot to talk, but Steven does manage to establish some rapport with her. Peridot explains to the crystal gems what the Cluster is and the impending threat it poses. They plan to build a drill to reach the center of the Earth and stop the Cluster from forming. Pearl and Peridot argue over authority, but eventually come to terms and learn to work together as a team. The group finishes building the drill, only to realize that they need the cluster's coordinates to use it effectively. They explore Pink Diamond's moon base for coordinates, learn about the diamond's control over gems, and find a control room with information about the cluster. Peridot initially praises the colony plan, but is shocked to realize that it would have destroyed Earth and all life on it. As they are about to leave the moon, Steven notices Peridot hiding a diamond-shaped object. He confronts her in the barn about what he saw and tricks her into explaining the object's purpose, which turns out to be a communicator to contact the diamonds. He successfully takes it away, locking Peridot in a car, but she escapes using her giant mech and a chase ensues. She manages to activate the communicator and establishes contact with Yellow Diamond. However, to everyone's shock, Peridot defies Yellow Diamond's orders, expressing her newfound understanding of the value of Earth and its inhabitants. Steven declares Peridot a crystal gem, and the episode ends with a powerful statement of her change in allegiance. Amidst all this, Steven celebrates his 14th birthday with the group, thus ending the season on a somewhat positive note.
Are the crystal gems?
Remember the watermelon Stevens which were created a while ago? Well, they have settled on an island and have created a civilization. One day, the real Steven tells the crystal gems that he witnessed Malachite's re-emergence while in control of the watermelon Steven. Garnet, Pearl, and Amethyst decide to go to the island to confront Malachite, while Peridot and Steven stay behind. Once there, the crystal gems fuse into Alexandrite to fight Malachite, and they defeat her with the help of the watermelon Stevens. Lapis is saved and Jasper manages to escape. However, an earthquake indicates that the cluster is forming, and Garnet urges Steven and Peridot to use the drill to destroy it. Steven and Peridot enter the drill to reach the forming cluster deep within the Earth. Arriving at the cluster, Steven tries to communicate with its consciousness, convincing it to seek companionship rather than destruction. Peridot drills into the cluster, but they struggle until Steven falls unconscious and connects with the cluster's thoughts. Upon waking up, he urges Peridot to contain the entire cluster, encasing it in a massive bubble. Returning to the surface, they share their success with the crystal gems, revealing that the cluster is now peacefully contained within the Earth. Now, Steven sets out to help Lapis find a suitable home, showing her various environments from the countryside to the city. They stumble upon the galaxy warp, triggering Lapis's memories of her past. Lapis's emotional breakdown prompts Steven to assure her that she can find a new home on Earth. Upon returning to the barn, Lapis considers the idea of staying on Earth, but an unexpected arrival of Peridot sparks a conflict over the barn's ownership, leaving Steven uncertain about how to mediate the situation. Later, Pearl and Garnet depart on the warp paths, leaving Steven, Connie, and Amethyst to do their own business. However, the peaceful day is disrupted when a corrupted gem emerges from the ocean and attacks them. Amethyst manages to poof the corrupted gem, but Jasper, riding a corrupted snow monster, appears and engages Amethyst in a battle. Despite Amethyst's efforts, she is overpowered and poofed by Jasper. Steven and Connie fuse into Stevani to confront Jasper, successfully defeating both Jasper and the corrupted gem. Amethyst reappears with a new outfit and realizes that they didn't need her help at all. As they celebrate the victory and head back to the beach house, Amethyst is left feeling uncertain about her role among the crystal gems. Sometime later, Steven accidentally frees Bismuth from her bubble, and Pearl and Garnet, not knowing where she was, are ecstatic about her return. They take her to the Strawberry Battlefield, where they mourn the loss of their comrades. followed by a trip to the forge where she equips them with enhancements to their weapons. Later that night, she introduces Steven to the breaking point, but when Steven rejects it, she reveals how his mother did the same thing and trapped her in a bubble. A fight ensues and Steven manages to poof and trap her in a bubble once again. Next, the group goes out to seek Jasper and finds her interacting with a corrupted gem. Amethyst charges head-on after getting poofed in their last encounter, but struggles to stand her ground, leading to her heartbreak. Steven encourages her and makes her realize how important she is for the group, which leads to the most hype fusing between the two called Smoky Quartz. This yo-yo swinging badass kicks Jasper's ass and she fuses with the corrupted gem to even the odds. However, her plan goes south as she starts getting corrupted herself. Just as the corruption spreads, Peridot steps in, taking decisive action by poofing Jasper, encapsulating her in a protective bubble, and finally putting an end to her sinister endeavors.
Are the crystal gems?
Season 4 opens as we see Steven wake up from a dream and his face wet with tears. To get to the source of his tears, Steven then enlists Greg's help, and they fly to Korea in Andy's plane to locate the palanquin. They enjoy some sightseeing before finding Blue Diamond, who is mourning Pink Diamond's memory. Greg offers words of empathy, and Blue Diamond takes him away, leaving Steven shocked and determined to save his father. Garnet appears, ready to help Steven retrieve Greg from space. Steven and Garnet urgently arrive at the beach house and inform Pearl and Amethyst about Blue Diamond taking Greg. After deducing that Blue Diamond has likely taken Greg to Pink Diamond's zoo, an infamous place where humans were displayed as trophies, they set out for a rescue mission. The crystal gems approach the facility but are surprised by the news that Blue Diamond is on her way back to the zoo. Steven is taken through the assimilation process before being taken to the containment area where he sees Greg being groomed by other humans. Steven and Greg are introduced to the inhabitants and the seemingly idyllic routine they follow. They plan to find a door to escape, but complications arise, prompting the Amethyst guards to open the door, which allows Steven and Greg to flee. As they run, Sapphire's precognition comes into play and the crystal gems make their escape to Earth. Soon after, two Homeworld gems, Topaz and Aquamarine, start kidnapping people from Beach City. Steven realizes this war will never stop until he faces the diamonds head-on. In a selfless moment, he presents himself as Rose Quartz and willingly goes with Topaz and Aquamarine to prevent them from taking anyone else. Despite protests from the gems and Connie, Steven boards the ship and leaves Earth. The season ends with Connie screaming after Steven as the ship disappears into warp speed.
Are the crystal gems?
Awaiting trial for shattering Pink Diamond, Steven is defended by Blue Zircon, while a Yellow Zircon serves as the prosecutor. As the trial begins, Steven and his friend Lars find themselves in front of Yellow and Blue Diamond. Steven pleads guilty, but Zircon intervenes and reveals that the story doesn't add up and someone close to Pink was responsible for the shattering. He accuses one of the diamonds, which causes Yellow to poof them both. Steven and Lars use the chaos to run to the depths of the Homeworld. They're pursued by a shattering Robonoid, and in their attempt to evade it, they encounter a group of off-color rogue gems hiding in an abandoned kindergarten. Robonoids discover them, and Lars, with Steven's support, faces his fear to protect the group. Lars seemingly sacrifices himself to destroy the Robonoids, but is revived when Steven's tears turn him pink. Lars now has a pink appearance and odd hair abilities, which work similarly to the Lion back on Earth. The off-colors decide to stay together and find a new escape route for Lars, who insists Steven uses his hair to return to Earth. After a touching goodbye, Steven returns home, reuniting with the gems and his loved ones. Sometime later, Steven and Connie return to rescue Lars, but find him commanding a ship and leading the off-colors. He has adapted to his new life and going on space adventures, so I guess it's all good? Soon after Steven arrives, their ship is attacked by Emerald and Steven fuses with Connie to help, but an explosion sends them flying into space. Stevani crash lands on a jungle world and adapts to the environment, looking for food and water. Eventually, they reach an old control room and manage to contact Lars through a diamond console, who arrives to their rescue. After returning to Earth, Steven confronts Pearl about Pink Diamond's shattering, and she avoids the question. Eventually, she sends him to her gemstone, where he encounters different facets of her memories. After a while, he witnesses a moment after Pink Diamond's shattering, but what he sees shocks him to his core. Turns out, Pink Diamond was in fact Rose Quartz herself, who had used her shapeshifting abilities and raised the rebellion after her sisters refused to decolonize Earth. Amethyst takes the news calmly, while Garnet splits into Ruby and Sapphire. Sapphire struggles with doubt and anger and goes to Rose's fountain to grieve, where Steven and Pearl find her. Pearl reveals the truth behind Pink Diamond's transformation into rose quartz and her motivations for the rebellion. Later, Sapphire returns to the house with a better understanding of Rose's intentions, but they find it empty, besides a letter from Ruby, leaving Sapphire worried about her whereabouts. Ruby's journey of self-discovery takes her on a path of independence, symbolized by her choice to become a cowboy. Despite her initial determination to strike out on her own, Ruby comes to realize the depth of her feelings for Sapphire and the importance of their bond. With the guidance of Steven, Greg, and Amethyst, Ruby's newfound clarity prompts her to propose to Sapphire, affirming their unity while embracing their individual growth. Steven assists in preparing for the wedding and even frees Bismuth as a surprise guest, who is now over her anger towards Rose. During the ceremony, Ruby and Sapphire share their vows and fuse back into Garnet. However, the celebration is interrupted when the diamonds arrive and awaken the cluster. With Lapis's help, the crystal gems manage to defeat Blue Diamond momentarily, but the diamonds regroup and overpower Steven. In a psychic plane, Steven reaches out to the diamonds and ultimately convinces them that Pink Diamond is still alive. When he wakes up, the diamonds are surprised and emotionally overwhelmed, realizing Steven is Pink Diamond. The diamonds are surprised by this revelation and are intrigued by the concept of Steven's existence. They witness the corruption of Centipedal, or Nephrite, and Steven urges them to heal her. Yellow agrees but states that they need White Diamond for a permanent cure. The group decides to travel to Homeworld using Pink Diamond's ship to seek White's help. The crystal gems, along with the diamonds, arrive to Homeworld where they are greeted by a crowd of gems celebrating Pink Diamond's return. They arrange a ball to bring out White Diamond and discuss the issues of corrupted gems. Yellow and Blue Diamond appear, as well as White Pearl, who reports that White Diamond won't attend but will observe. Steven dances with Connie, accidentally fusing into Stevani, which angers Yellow and Blue Diamond. They poof Garnet, Opal, and Lemon Jade and lock Stevani in a room as punishment. Later, Steven and Connie attempt to reconcile with Blue Diamond to release the crystal gems. Blue has a realization about her past treatment of Pink Diamond, prompting her to help Steven and Connie. However, their plans escalate when they confront White Diamond and the massive diamond mech. White Diamond is furious and extracts Steven's gem in an attempt to bring back Pink Diamond, but it gives rise to a Pink Steven. The fusion of Human Steven and Pink Steven results in a transformative confrontation with White Diamond. With the crystal gem's support, Steven persuades White to embrace change, leading to her breakdown and the release of controlled gems. They arrive on Earth and work together to heal corrupted gems and bring a sense of unity. And now, the war that started thousands of years ago is finally over.
Are the crystal gems?
After Steven declines Diamond's offer to stay on Homeworld, Earth finally catches a break and the crystal gems can finally take it easy. Steven and Connie are a couple now, but Connie is off to summer camp for a bit. Just when it seems like smooth sailing, a massive drill drops down from the sky. Out pops an angry gem named Spinel, armed with a seriously intense pink scythe that can poof other gems. Her grand plan is to wreck the entire planet, and you can guess what happens next. There is a showdown. The crystal gems take a hit, and Steven manages to poof Spinel with her own weapon. Now, fast forward a bit, and everyone's back in action, but they've all lost their memories. Even Spinel has turned into this cheerful gem who's all about being besties with Steven. So, Steven takes the lead, helps everyone remember who they are, and dives into Spinel's backstory. Turns out, she used to be Pink Diamond's pal, but things went south when Pink got her own colony. Pink asked her to play a game where she has to stay still until she comes back, and left Spinel hanging for 6,000 years. That's a tough break. Now she is back on Earth and wants to destroy it because this is the very planet that separated her from Pink. Steven gets where Spinel is coming from and tries to talk her out of her whole destroy the world plan, but she's skeptical and thinks he'll use her like Pink did. Things get a bit tense between Steven and Spinel, and she pretty much blows away the whole city. The diamonds show up and Steven fills them in on Spinel's story. They get all nostalgic about Pink and decide to take Spinel back to Homeworld with them. Crisis averted, everyone's safe, and life goes back to being as peaceful as it can be in a gem-powered world.
Are the crystal gems?
After a period of relative calm on Earth, Steve is 16 years old now. He has grown a neck, and the crystal gems establish a school called Little Homeschool to help newly uncorrupted gems adjust to their newfound freedom. However, one gem remains isolated and resistant to change, Jasper. Steven's attempt to connect with her results in a tense confrontation that escalates into a battle. During the fight, Steven's dormant Pink Diamond powers suddenly activate, allowing him to overpower Jasper and impress her. Later, a group of rose quartz gems arrives on Earth, triggering a series of events that shake Steven's sense of identity. The sight of one rose quartz who looks exactly like his mother disturbs him deeply, leading him to question his own place in the world. In an attempt to good, Steven takes on the role of a healer. His efforts lead him to Pink Pearl, whose cracked eye conceals emotional scars inflicted by Pink Diamond when she was denied her own colony. Learning about the horrible side of his mother triggers his pink form once again, and he almost ends up hurting his own friends. As Steven grapples with the consequences of his actions, he tries to reach out to his friends for support. However, a series of unfortunate incidents, including accidentally trapping everyone inside a bubble and struggling to connect with Connie, lead to his increasing feelings of isolation and self-doubt. In the midst of his struggles, Steven begins to experience disturbing nightmares and uncontrollable pink transformations. Desperate for a solution, he seeks guidance from Peridot, Lapis Lazuli, Greg, and Bismuth, and even visits Homeworld in hopes of finding answers. However, his attempts to find a solution only seem to exacerbate the situation, and he inadvertently angers White Diamond and realizes the complexity of the issues he's facing. He also feels distant from Connie and seeks advice from Ruby and Sapphire, who tell him to propose to her. This leads to an awkward situation, and Connie and he are merely teenagers. Connie asks him to wait for the right moment and leaves, which only makes things much worse for him. With tensions building, Steven's internal struggles come to a head. In a moment of crisis, he transforms into a monstrous pink version of himself, wreaking havoc on Beach City. His friends and family rally to stop him, and it's Connie's unwavering love and understanding that finally bring him back to his senses. Following this intense ordeal, Steven realizes that he needs to embark on a journey of self-discovery to understand the root of his problems and find a way to heal. He shares his decision to leave Beach City with his friends, prompting emotional farewells and expressions of support. As Steven departs on his journey, he reflects on his experiences and the challenges he's faced. The crystal gems reveal that they have been hiding their own struggles in an effort to support him, reinforcing the theme that everyone needs help and understanding. With his friends' blessings, Steven begins a new chapter in his life, eager to explore his own identity and find a path to healing. And on this inspiring note, Steven Universe and its timeline so far comes to an end. If you enjoyed our video as much as we did making it for you, drop us a like and subscribe to our channel for more Toons recapped on your feed. With that said, thanks for watching and we'll see you in the next one. Peace!